everyone. I'm Liz Brown Swanson, and welcome to RPV City Talks Public Safety Edition. I am here with the great captain of the Lomita Sheriff Station, Captain Kimberly Querrero, who comes in each quarter to update our community, of course, on all that's happening with crime trends, statistics, and law enforcement efforts. So welcome. It's so great to have you here, as always, and all you're doing for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You know, this is our first time we've been together here in the studio, and since the passing of your court deputy, Daniel Okamoto, our whole community has been grieving together. We're so sorry and extend our condolences again. How are you and the Okamoto family and your deputies doing as we grieve together as a community right now?
Sure. Well, as you can imagine, it's been a tough couple months, but with the community support and you know, the family support, we seem to be getting better every day. It's a tough journey, but every day we seem to be getting better. And the unwavering support from the community, their kindness and support has been appreciated not only by myself and the station, but also by the Okamoto family. And you know, Daniel was a great man. He was hardworking, kind, and humble. He was well respected within the community, so he'll definitely be missed, not just by the department, but by the community. So
Yes.
We'll make sure that his legacy lives on.
Well, thank you for that and for sharing and navigating all this, going through all this. You've also been, of course, navigating what's happening with crime in our community. You met, like you always do each quarter, to release the latest crime statistics for Rancho Palos Verdes in the whole peninsula. You meet with the Regional Contract Law Committee.
Sure.
That's represented by RPV, Rolling Hills Estates, and Rolling Hills. That's who the sheriff's contracts with all of our cities.
Sure.
So what do you want to kind of give us an overview of the latest stats with crime trends, et cetera, in RPV?
So in RPV, we've noticed in Part 1 crimes, there was a slight increase in crimes. It was 99 incidents compared to last year, which was 85. And that's partially due to, again, the grand auto thefts and also the residential burglaries. The Part 2 stats are, they've had a significant decrease from 99 to 85, so that's something good to report. As far as our traffic stats, I can tell you we have been, we've sent several deputies to UTV training, and we have hit the horse trails to combat those residential burglaries, so that could have caused a decrease in the traffic stats, because we do have deputies now that are on the trails instead of out there on the streets giving citations.
Your station is doing more to suppress crime from using trail patrols. You're hiring some needed staff, and also you're doing things like senior outreach to protect a very vulnerable community. Talk about all these efforts you're doing right now.
So yes, the UTV training is something that it was something that they had at the station, and you know, it kind of died off, and now we sent some new personnel to training, and not only are the UTVs out on patrol, but also we have the volunteer mounted enforcement detail that are out on those trails, patrolling and for high visibility. So not only have we introduced that for suppression of crime, but we also have started the senior outreach program, which has been something positive for the elderly community, which we encourage the elderly to come out and, you know, let us know if they don't have any family members or, you know, welfare checks, so to say, once a month. And we also have deputies go out and educate them on, you know, fraud, identity theft, any recent crime trends that are affecting their community.
Right. I know when you gave your quarterly update during the meeting, you mentioned about fraud and,
Sure.
and identity theft being a big issue on the Hill, and
Yes.
to address that. Do you want to, at this point, give any suggestions or tips? We're going to talk about more safety tips as we go along in the show, but regarding that particular area, what people need to be mindful about.
Sure. Like anybody, I myself have been a victim of fraud and identity theft. So you just have to be aware how much you are doing business online, you know, giving out your personal information. And for the elderly, they're vulnerable to, you know, these scams.
Yes.
So we educate them on what to do to prevent these scams from occurring.
And if someone thinks they're being scammed, they get that phone call, do they call the sheriff's department? Is that what they should do? What's the best way to report
Yes,
what's going on?
we have had a spike in calls regards to scams, so we are dealing with that. But yes, if something like that does occur, we encourage the
Right.
community to call.
We had mentioned about that we've been hearing for a long time about how understaffed the sheriff's department is in LA County and here in Lomita Sheriff Station. And you are bringing on some new trainees. You want to highlight that and how that will make a difference with your team?
Yes, we're actually very excited and happy to report that we are getting 3 new trainees, which will be out in patrol and out in the communities very soon here. So as far as being understaffed, we should, well, I don't think we'll ever hit our numbers that we want to
Right.
hit because of the attrition rate as far as recruitment, but we are moving forward in a positive way. So the 3 trainees are very positive for our
Great.
station.
Can you tell us more about how you're moving forward with making arrests, solving cases, and the response times of the sheriff's department with your deputies out there? What's going on there?
Sure. So I'm happy to report that our response times are way below LASD policy, and I'm happy to report that actually RPV is very happy with their response times as far as the calls. And I believe, you know, with these new people that are coming out, the more staff we get, response times, crime, investigations, it will all see an increase as far as what we're doing.
Excellent. One thing that might be impacting response times, what we have going on with our state of emergency with the landslide right now.
Sure.
As we all know what's happening with PV Drive South, a challenging road to be on. I was just curious if what's happening with the landslide in any way, how it impacts law enforcement services and your ability to protect the community. If you want anything about that you can talk about.
Sure. You know, it's an unfortunate event that's occurring right now with the landslide, but as far as any law enforcement efforts, you know, the only things that we've had to deal with is during the rainy season, we did have to deal with road closures.
Okay.
But anything besides the road closures interfering with our response times or how we get to different areas, that would be the only thing that would
Right.
affect us.
Captain, I know you're doing a lot to just be involved with the community policing, and you hosted, it was called Coffee with the Captain at Golden Cove. I got to attend. It was fabulous that you got residents there talking about their concerns with public safety. And talk about that event, sort of the takeaways and issues that got brought up.
Sure. So it was a great event. It was an opportunity not just for myself, but for my personnel to actually engage with the community. So we discussed, you know, their concerns, which range from residential burglaries, vehicle burglaries, and auto thefts, and also traffic, which is a huge concern of theirs. Out there on the switchbacks, speeding, speed contests. So we address those issues. We let them know what they can do as a community and what we're doing to combat those issues.
Right. I know I did overhear a few of the residents bringing up about PV Drive East there with those switchbacks and the burglaries. Any tips you want to give now for, you know, how not to be a victim when it comes to being burglarized?
Burglarized? I mean, I can go on and on.
Right.
But always be aware of your surroundings. That's number one. As far as the residential burglaries, any burglaries, always safeguard your either personal belongings or your residences. And always video surveillance is something that has been a great tool, not just for the residents, but for us as far as investigations.
Right. I know since you're actually bringing up surveillance with camera systems, our own city right now is working hard to increase resources with more ALPR cameras that are going to be installed. Talk about the impact the ALPR cameras, which stands for Automated License Plate Recognition cameras. I always think I want to say readers, but they actually help.
Sure.
You know, they really are helping to prevent and stop crime. Can you give us some data about the cameras, how they work?
Sure. So the way it works is there's actually inputted data that's inputted into a system, and the camera actually reads the license plates of those that are in our areas, and it ranges from you know, auto thefts to felony suspects to missing persons. So it's a great not just a resource, but a tool for our deputies out there to use, and they've used it effectively in many arrests. So I
excellent.
think it's a great tool, like I said, and something that we will definitely take advantage of here in the city of Rancho Palos Verdes.
And now on the subject of the city, we're in the process of renewing contract.
Sure.
Every year there's the contract gets renewed. We know that law enforcement costs have been on the rise. You're also understaffed. So there's going to be the 4% increase in this year's contract. It's now, I think, $8 million plus. I know you don't negotiate the contract, but just an overview, like what residents should understand about kind of what they're paying for and the services that are covered in the next contract.
Sure. So Rancho Palos Verdes is actually, they pay a big chunk of actually what you share with Rancho, or not Rancho, but Rolling Hills and Rolling Hills Estates. So
Right.
you get a majority and bulk of the services that we provide. But as far as our current services, nothing will change this coming year, even though there is an increase. But there is the addition of the Public Safety Division that the city of Rancho Palos Verdes is adding, and we are assisting with establishing that Public Safety Division, which will be a great asset for us in the coming months.
Right. I want to move on to just the outreach that you do as a captain and with the Lomita Station team, and that you do work with our city's like traffic safety committee that met. We just produced some public service announcements with your deputies, the RPVtv, to focus on the perils of texting and driving, and even texting and walking. The number of incidents that are on the rise from these situations. So I just want to know your message about the problems we're having with texting in the community, and just sort of maybe even if you have any information on citations that are being issued and what the fine is, that kind of thing.
So as far as citations given with the texting while driving, obviously you know that it is hard to find somebody who's actually texting and driving.
Right.
So those cites are a little bit lower than anybody who's speeding or any moving violations. You know, texting and driving itself shouldn't be a multitask. It should be a task that's just, should be focused on just by itself. You know, having to multitask and texting and driving in itself is a cause for major accidents. So we definitely discourage it. If we find somebody blatantly out there texting and driving, we definitely will cite it. We'll give them a citation.
All right, because in California, you're not allowed to have a phone in your hand. Is that correct? You have to be, the phone itself has to be a hands-free.
It's a hands-free, yes.
Right,
correct.
right. And as far as texting with walking, that was new to me, but people are distracted walking, and they're walking into the road, and then they're becoming victims in accidents. And I think that was part of the messaging with these public service announcements we're showing right now to the community. And as we're talking about the dangers of driving, this summer month's upon us, and statistically, it becomes like the most deadly time for teen drivers nationwide. There's more incidences. So what advice or tips are you going to have, especially your parent, about for these kids, you know, driving, safety driving tips and tips for the parents?
Sure. So I have 2 kids of my own, and again, they're not going to be driving for several years, but when they do, my tip would obviously be, you know, there should be no distractions in the vehicles. Eating, texting and driving, drinking and driving, whatever the case, like I said, it shouldn't be a multitask effort when you're driving. So I would definitely encourage them to wait. Anything can wait until you get to your destination safely.
Right. I think someone said like something as simple as just putting your phone in the back seat, right? Things like that you don't even have that opportunity. Because I mentioned summer is upon us, it is a busier time for the whole community. Any important summer safety tips that you want to share with the community, and how actually what maybe more stress it puts on law enforcement, all the more situations you're dealing with over the summer?
Sure. Well, obviously with summer you have the kids out, so you know, they're a little mischievous when they're not into sports or they're not into organizations where they're kept busy. So, you know, we'll be dealing obviously with them during the summer months, but also you have 4th of July, which is coming up. So we definitely have to be safe out there with the fireworks, not just for our safety, but, you know, we have pets, we have the elderly, we have the veterans out there. So I encourage everyone to definitely be safe out there.
Right. And we always encourage our residents, when you see something, say something. And I've asked you this before, like if there's so that the community, I think some people are just hesitant to call in. They don't want to be a bother or whatever little information they can share reporting suspicious activity. But how often does it really make a difference? And are you seeing the number of calls coming in increase, especially you look at social media and you get next door, you feel like people are posting when they are seeing suspicious activity out there going on?
Sure. So when I started, that was a campaign that they actually were out there speaking about at the homeowners associations, city councils. So it was something that I jumped into, and every event that we're at, we definitely encourage it. We encourage the community to definitely, when they do see something, say something. And since then, I will say in the 6 months that I've been here, we've had an increase in calls involving suspicious persons, suspicious vehicles.
Good.
Racing down, the switchbacks. So there has been an increase, and the community has definitely come through as far as when they see something, say something, for sure.
I think we definitely have a community that's engaged, is proactive, and there's so many resources. I mean, I always push our own city website, rpvca.gov. They have a public safety page. You can learn about, like, our city has a loaner program, for example, for when you're on vacation, things like that. I mean, that does make a difference. And I don't know whether when it comes to vacation checks, if because you're understaffed, if your department still even does that, I should know that, but
we
do you still
definitely
offer that out?
We definitely do. When you're on vacation, definitely not just notify us and get those patrol checks, but notify your neighbors.
Right.
Because they need to know, and if they do see somebody in and around your residence, to give us a call.
Right, and stop posting that you're away for the week. No,
Yes.
that's the interesting
Yes.
thing. I've seen people put their vacations all over social media, and then you think, oh, that's a perfect time. Because I think that's, people, although we don't want to give criminals too much credit for being smart, right?
Sure.
But those are ways that they're going to find out if you're home or not home. And I also think I read a report that there are people that are actually putting cameras in people's yards to find out when they're there. What do you know about that? I was like someone might hide a camera in a bush to see if these people are coming and going. Is that an issue? Is that a real issue?
That is a real issue. It is, and what they're doing is these cameras are being camouflaged with the plants in the surrounding yard. So that was found on a traffic stop done by another agency. But I know with us, we actually did. We had suspects that were actually caught inside a residence, so they were arrested and were found with, it's called a Wi-Fi jammer, which jams the Wi-Fi so that the alarms don't go off when they enter the residence.
So your detectives were on it.
We were on it.
Thank you so much. You're helping us, keeping us all safe. You mentioned you've been here 6 months now.
Sure.
In your career here at Lomita Station, you've had over, I think you've been with Lomita, have you been with the Sheriff's Department for 26 years, did I read, or how many
27.
years? 27. And just talk about sort of maybe highlights in the 6 months tenure so far, if you want to showcase anything, and also maybe any future goals you have for the rest of the year you want to bring up.
Sure. So it's been obviously with Daniel's passing, it's been a very tough couple months. That was something that we had to deal with all together as a station. So it was something that, being a new captain, it was very tough to go through. But I would say a highlight of my career has been just getting acclimated in itself. Meeting the community members, meeting city officials, building those working relationships, but also friendships with the community and the city officials has been a very positive thing for me. So, working with the hardworking women of Lomita Station has been something that I've been privileged to do. And I at this point, my whole career, these last 6 months have been the highlight of it.
Yeah. And how do you encourage people to pursue this, especially there's been so many factors in society that I think law enforcement is taking a hit on people pursuing this as a career path, and we know how understaffed the whole Sheriff's Department is. But what do you say out there to encourage youth to maybe consider this?
Yeah, it is tough, and I see the recruitment efforts are a lot lower than when I came on. But I also see something positive that our sheriff really encourages, and that is bridging the gap with the communities. And becoming partners with the community. So that's something positive. And I think If the youth see that we are partners, not just, you know, the community and law enforcement, it encourages them to be recruited within the communities and be vested in their communities. So I will say the 3 new people that are at our station are vested in the community, within the communities. They do live within or around our communities that we serve.
Yes. As we wrap it up here, I don't know if you have any other announcements that you want to share with the community about the Lomita Station, how maybe we can help you do your work, more volunteers, anything you want to reference before we wrap it up?
We definitely encourage volunteering. We love our volunteers. We can't say enough, and we can't thank them enough for everything that they've done for us. So we definitely encourage the community to come. I've had many, you know, during our community events, community members come up and say, oh, how can we volunteer? And that's something as simple as giving our station a phone call, talking to our community relations sergeant, and she will get you familiar with the process. You know, again, I want to end it by saying I'm very thankful and for the support and kindness of the community members that came out and showed their love and support for not only Lomita, but for the Okamoto family. And you'll definitely be remembered and never forgotten for everything that you've done. So we appreciate that.
And we'll close our show in honor of Daniel, and
thank you.
We continue to pray for your department and the Okamoto family, and serving our community like you do, and really putting your lives on the line every day for all of us.
Thank you.
Again, Captain Querrero, thank you for your service and all you're doing for our community. We are going to wrap up our RPV City Talk Public Safety Edition. I'm Liz Brown Swanson. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.